The 79th Airborne Brigade has released rare and striking footage documenting intense combat in the Oleksandrivka sector, where Ukraine's defense forces continue to press forward with offensive operations. Russian troops in this area have been reduced to operating in scattered small infantry groups, a tactic born out of desperation rather than strategy. The relentless activity of Ukrainian paratroopers has severely disrupted enemy supply chains, forcing the occupiers to rely almost entirely on drone-delivered logistics just to keep their forward position stocked. The cumulative results of this campaign are staggering. Through sustained combat operations in the Oleksandrivka direction, the 79th Separate Airborne Assault Brigade has eliminated or incapacitated close to 500 Russian soldiers. In effect, this means an entire enemy battalion has been wiped off the map, with Russian command unable to replace the manpower it has lost. Gunners of the 147th Separate Artillery Brigade have carried out a highly effective series of strikes against Russian positions in the Pokrovsk direction, one of the most contested and strategically vital sectors of the front. Ukrainian artillery crews successfully targeted and neutralized enemy personnel while simultaneously destroying a multiple-launch rocket system, MLRS, an artillery gun, an ammunition depot, several shelters, and the occupiers' technical reconnaissance equipment. Military analysts note that these coordinated artillery strikes have inflicted significant damage on the enemy's overall combat capability, weakening Russian ability to sustain offensive pressure in this critical direction.
Пострел!
The Phoenix unit, made up of skilled border guard drone pilots, has spent the past week executing a wave of precision strikes against Russian equipment, logistical assets, and troop concentrations across 4 separate frontline directions. In the Huliapol direction, UAV operators successfully destroyed a Russian tank. Meanwhile, in the Dobropilia direction, Phoenix pilots set the enemy's logistics infrastructure ablaze, cutting off critical supply routes. Further north, in the Lyman direction, drone crews eliminated an unmanned ground vehicle, UGV, along with several enemy artillery guns. In the Toretsk direction, the unit has kept up sustained pressure, continuing to strike enemy personnel in their supply corridors. Aerial reconnaissance operators from the AIRS unit, part of the 57th Separate Motorized Infantry Brigade, achieved a major tactical success by destroying a Russian TOS Solntsepek heavy flamethrower system in the Vovchansk sector. This weapon, known for its devastating thermobaric capabilities, had been used by Russian forces to shell Ukrainian Defense Force positions. After reconnaissance teams pinpointed the system's location, strike drone operators moved swiftly to neutralize it. 2 precision FPV drone strikes sealed its fate. The first hit the hull of the combat vehicle, while the second struck its combat module, leaving the feared Solntsepek completely inoperable. Marines from the 40th Separate Brigade have showcased the operational value of the Barracuda unmanned surface system, a maritime drone capable of transporting reconnaissance UAVs into areas that were previously inaccessible to Ukrainian forces. This innovative approach has opened up new possibilities for intelligence gathering along contested coastal and riverine zones. Once additional reconnaissance data was gathered, target coordinates were quickly relayed to FPV drone crews, who carried out successful strikes against Russian occupiers positioned on the Tendra Spit and along the banks of the Dnipro River. In the Veliko-Berlutskia sector of the Kharkiv region, Ukrainian attack drone operators scored another significant hit against Russian artillery capabilities. A precise and well-coordinated strike destroyed a Russian Msta-S self-propelled artillery unit, removing a powerful piece of enemy firepower from the battlefield. This successful operation was carried out by drone operators of the Northern Eagle Battalion, part of the 151st Separate Mechanized Brigade of the Ukrainian Armed Forces. The Ghosts, a specialized unit operating under Ukraine's defense intelligence, have continued their methodical campaign to disrupt Russian military logistics in temporarily occupied Crimea. Throughout June 2026, these operatives carried out a series of highly effective strikes against key military and logistical targets on the peninsula. According to defense intelligence reports, the unit successfully struck a Kasta 2E2 radar system, 6 refueling vehicles, 2 freight locomotives, 3 fuel tankers, and additional military equipment aboard a railway convoy. These strikes represent a continued effort to choke off the supply arteries that sustain Russian forces operating from Crimea. Pilots of the Ukrainian Air Force have carried out a fresh round of airstrikes targeting concentrations of Russian infantry, drone operator positions, and fortified enemy structures. Using precision-guided GBU-39 aerial bombs, Ukrainian fighter crews successfully struck Russian infantry hideouts concealed within forest belts, locations used by enemy UAV operators in various fortified positions, dealing a significant blow to the occupiers' defensive and offensive infrastructure. In a sobering strategic assessment, the Ministry of Defense of the Netherlands has warned that once the war in Ukraine concludes, Russia may pursue a limited military operation against a NATO member state. This warning is detailed in the Dutch ministry's newly published annual defense policy strategy document. Dutch officials emphasize that Europe's security architecture has fundamentally shifted. According to their assessment, the Russian regime shows no signs of scaling back its ambitions and continues to view European nations as potential targets for future hybrid or localized military action. The document states plainly that Europe currently exists in a gray zone between war and peace, with intelligence services indicating that Russia is bracing for a prolonged confrontation with Europe. In a worst-case scenario, the report warns Russia could launch a limited military operation against a NATO member once its war against Ukraine has run its course. Drawing lessons from the full-scale war in Ukraine, Dutch military command has concluded that the modern battlefield is now overwhelmingly shaped by unmanned technologies. The widespread deployment of UAVs has become the leading cause of casualties on both sides of the conflict, a lesson the Netherlands is taking seriously. As a direct response, the Dutch Ministry of Defense intends to pursue the same technological path, aiming for more than half of all operational results to be achieved through unmanned systems within the next 5 years. To support this transformation, the Dutch government plans to invest 20 billion euros into its defense sector in phases, with full deployment of these funds expected by 2035. This substantial financial commitment will allow the Netherlands not only to meet, but to significantly exceed NATO's spending benchmark, pushing its annual defense budget to 3.5% of GDP. In a remarkable demonstration of modern battlefield ingenuity, drone operators from the 425th Separate Assault Regiment Skelia, part of Ukraine's land forces, successfully executed an operation to capture a Russian serviceman in the Pokrovsk sector of Donetsk Oblast. The operation relied on a quadcopter drone equipped with an audio alert system, which was used to communicate directly with the enemy soldier and guide him toward Ukrainian positions. The entire operation unfolded over several hours, all under continuous aerial surveillance. Throughout the process, UAV crews tracked the Russian serviceman's every move, issuing instructions related to safety protocols, including a direct order for him to discard any suspicious items he was carrying. Once it was confirmed that he was unarmed, the soldier was carefully guided to a pre-arranged ambush point where a ground team from the Skelia Regiment was waiting to complete the capture.
Постріл!